got a busy episode here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Is Braxton Jones done, and is Ozzy Trapilo ready? We're going to talk about the offensive tackle situation a lot here on today's show. Should we be concerned about Cole Kmet's performance on Sunday? And a little Caleb Williams talk toward the end of the show as well, so stay tuned for that. Let's start with Braxton Jones. Is he just done? Because it seems like, even though they've kind of danced around the question and haven't been specific, that Braxton Jones was benched in the game against the Raiders. There hasn't been an injury that was mentioned. Ben Johnson had some comments today. I do want to revisit a comment he had after the game on Sunday. He said, quote, "We knew going into the game that Ozzy Trapilo was likely going to get some snaps for us. He's a guy that keeps getting better each and every week. We were at a point where we weren't doing a lot on offense, and we felt like that might give us a spark." I totally understand that reasoning, and especially with Theo Benedet getting worked by Max Crosby, who had an unbelievable start to that game. What is the interesting part of what happened, though, was it's not like they just swapped Ozzy and Theo went to the bench. Theo flipped to left tackle, and Braxton hit the bench. So that certainly caught all of our attentions. Is he hurt? What's going on? There's been no comment of an injury. So is that a signal that Braxton is like on his way out? Now, I will say this before we kind of get to just looking at all the different angles of the offensive tackles for the short term. Is part of this just them knowing, okay, Braxton Jones is serviceable, but he doesn't look quite as good as he did before the injury. Even that version of Braxton wasn't a great player. He's in a contract year. We got to figure out which guys on this roster can be legitimate starting tackles, not only right now, but long term. Like, is that part of this where, well, if there's not a huge gap between Braxton Jones and Theo Benedet, well, Benedet's under contract for multiple years. Do we just see what he can do? Do we explore Darnell Wright at left tackle? We're going to talk about that in a second. The bottom line is, I have no idea who the offensive tackles are going to be moving forward. Now, I do want to get to a comment from Ben Johnson here that I just pulled up on Twitter. He basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, said that we got to look at all 4 games of the tape and evaluate all of our offensive tackles. And he said, I'm not ready to, make some kind of announcement today. So I truly believe that every option is on the table. And I think my main takeaway is they want to get Ozzy Trapilo on the field. So if he can't do that at left tackle, that means it's going to be at right tackle. And then what happens to Darnell Wright? Does Darnell Wright get a look at left tackle? Because to me, and we can complain and we can whine about, he's got too many penalties, and that's certainly true. But it's pretty obvious to me he is your best offensive tackle. And he has played strictly right tackle in the NFL and strictly right tackle his final year at Tennessee. Now, the year before that, he played left tackle at Tennessee, and he certainly has the measurables. He certainly has the athletic profile to do it, but that's a pretty big risk to take to just say, hey, during the bye week, by the way, you're battling this elbow injury, we're going to flip you to left tackle. Now, I do think the dream scenario long-term would be Darnell Wright and Ozzy Trapilo are your starting tackles, regardless of who's at right or left. But they kind of gave up, at least for now, on the Ozzy Trapilo left tackle experiment. That was evident a month ago, and certainly yesterday when they put him in at right tackle, moved Theo to the left side. So I don't think the solution coming out of the bye is all of a sudden Ozzy Trapilo is the left tackle. I don't think that's going to be the route. If Ozzy Trapilo is playing, I think it's going to be at right tackle. So I want to dive into this a little bit further as well, but I want to ask you guys, if you had to guess, who will be the 2 starting offensive tackles after the bye week once Darnell's healthy? And maybe he's not ready for Washington. All of them are healthy. Who are the 2 starters? And if you want to go above and beyond, let us know which position. Like, is it Darnell at left, Ozzy at right? Is it Braxton at left, Darnell at right? Is it Theo and Ozzy? Like, well, what's the combination? If you had to guess, let me know in the comment section right now. And the question also here is Ozzy ready? Is he ready to be a starter? He played 40 snaps at right tackle against the Raiders, and we'll get to the PFF grades in a moment. They did not grade him out well. But what I will say is it felt like once they made that switcheroo, him at right, bench Braxton, Theo at left, it felt like, just from a snap-to-snap basis, that Max Crosby's dominance slowed down. Now, in the fourth quarter, he kind of woke back up. He beat Ozzy a couple of times. Caleb had to dip out of a couple of sacks. That's a pretty tough, first matchup, right? Like, you're on an island against Max Crosby in crunch time, and your first start is a second-round rookie. Max is going to beat you a couple of times. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He was just embarrassing Theo on that first drive, which, again, totally understandable. That is a brutal first matchup for the Canadian Eagle. Now, you look at the PFF grades for Ozzy, and again, it's all subjective. I like referencing it because it's at least someone else's eyes kind of giving you at least a data point, but it's not the end-all be-all, especially offensive line play, because it's taught differently for every team, so there's context. It's hard to know what necessarily a win versus a loss is on a rep. But on a pass block grade of 30.8 when he only gave up 2 pressures on 26 pass blocking snaps, that's a little harsh, right? And this is where PFF confuses me. Ozzy Trapilo gets a 31 pass block grade when he gives up 2 pressures on 26 pass block snaps. Braxton Jones gives up 2 pressures on 18 pass block snaps. He got a 65.8 pass block grade. So I'm sure there's nuance in here, even on plays where Ozzy didn't give up a pressure, is he getting beat still technically and that type of stuff. It's not a perfect science. I don't pretend to know. But this is where I'd love to get one of PFF's data analysts on the phone and be explain this to me, because Jones gave up the same amount of pressures on 8 less pass block snaps. How is his grade more than double better in that category? So I felt like Ozzy held his own. Again, down the stretch, Max got him a few times, especially in one-on-ones, which that's not shocking, but you do wonder how the Bears graded it versus, Pro Football Focus. I'll say this, Kyle Long, I think he knows offensive line play pretty well. He tweeted this out. He said, Ozzy looked patient in his sets and had a plan. When he had help in form of a chip or double team from a tight end, he helped his guard for as long as necessary. Part of the game is understanding where to help. Even more important, when to leave the guy you're helping currently. He seems to get it. Now, what is one thing that the Bears consistently raved about Ozzy Trapilo in OTAs and in training camp between the years? How smart of a player he was. And that's kind of what Kyle Long's alluding to here. He understands when to help out. He understands when to bail off that help and, get back to, maybe the edge defender or something like that. So if he understands what he's supposed to do, that's half the battle. Now, you got to have the physicality, the technique to hold up against these all-world players, which, we'll see if he's able to do that over time. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Bears approach this moving forward. And here's the question. Can Darnell Wright make the switch to left tackle? Can he do that? I think he's got the physical tools to be a left tackle, but on the fly, in the middle of the season, while dealing with an elbow issue, can the Bears reasonably ask him to do this and get a reasonable outcome? I think it would be unfair to say the expectation for him would be to be as good at left tackle on the fly as he is at right tackle. But what if you say, hey, if he can be 90% of the player that he is at right tackle, at left tackle the rest of this season, and then full off season all at left tackle next year, he kind of ramps up and gets better, would you take that to get Ozzy on the field? If Ozzy at right tackle is better than Braxton at left, maybe he would make that sacrifice. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this, because Ben Johnson himself acknowledged today we're looking at it all. So it's going to be very, very fascinating. All right, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I had a nice 3-player lineup this weekend, and now I'm back for more. A little doubleheader tonight. Prize Picks is the best way to earn money this football season. It's pretty wild, by the way. I'm taking a lot of mores on Bears players, and I mean instead of less, more or less, not DJ Moore necessarily, and it's earning me some money. So offense, baby. Love to see it. Prize Picks, by the way, is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to pick more on Caleb Williams' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, you can do so only on Prize Picks. The way it works is simple. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player lineups, and if you hit, you win money, sometimes up to 2,000 times your entry. I got a little 3-player lineup tonight. Justin Fields' longest rush of more than 14.5 yards. They're playing the Dolphins. Remember a couple years ago, he rushed for almost 200. So I think he's got at least one big run in him. Bo Nix, big game for the Broncos tonight. They cannot fall to 1-3. So I like the more on his passing yards. He's been a little kind of erratic to start the year. Hopefully a get-right game for him. And then Jake Browning was atrocious last week. I'll take the less against Denver's defense. That hasn't looked great this year, but we know is very talented. Less than 217.5. Three-player lineup, $20 entry to win $120. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk a little Cole Kmet. Clearly not a good game yesterday. I mean, I tweeted it out before the game-winning drive. I was like, look, they lose this game, it's kind of on Kmet. Like, that's one, if you're him in the locker room, you just got to hand up. Listen, I costed us. And, that happens. Even good players have bad games. But, man, this was a lot. It's just like everything happened in one game that was rough, right? Like, he had two clear drops, the seam shot, which would have set him first and goal at the 5. Who knows? Maybe he breaks a tackle and scores. Dropped a check down later in the game. He failed to catch that scramble drill throw from Caleb. Now, I'm not going to count that a drop, but Caleb threw that in a perfect spot where only Kmet can get it, and I think Cole would tell you that he should catch that ball, so that's 3 plays he could have made. He had 2 false starts, one of which came on a critical 4th and 1 in which they had to then punt the football away. Now, that did turn into a Torrey Taylor bomb that checked or stopped at the 2-yard line, so maybe it worked out for the better because they got the ball back. Maybe you don't get that 4th and 1, but that's not the thinking. Like, you're trying to convert that 4th and 1, and he false starts out of a timeout. So unacceptable play from Cole yesterday. Now, he's an accountability guy. I'm sure he'd be the first to say he did not play up to standard. And I will chalk this up to one bad day, but man, Colson Loveland's not on the field. You're expected to be reliable, if nothing else. And he was not reliable yesterday. So, again, hoping this is just a one-off, no big deal. Cole is a player that you'd like to see make some big plays this season. But that was frustrating, man. I mean, Cole, it was 4 or 5 critical mistakes. I mean, it's not like it was 1 or 2. It was several. So, hopefully he bounces back in a major way. And if I know Cole Kmet, I think he will. All right, guys, round of applause. We crossed 132,000 subscribers. You guys, the support that you guys continue to show, myself, Cullen, this channel, this company, it's unbelievable. We feel it every day. We talk about it every day. We couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you so much. We're on the road to 133K. Let's keep this thing rolling here on Chicago Bears Now, free and daily content. Okay, let's just kind of discuss Caleb a little further coming out of this game. I might do a video of just a 1-month check-in with Ben Johnson so far during the bye week here, but let's dive into this performance a little bit further. Certainly kind of an uneven game, right? 22 of 37, right around 60%. Okay. 212 passing, a touchdown, and a pick. QB rating of 73, certainly below average there. And then had a couple timely scrambles late, but overall not a lot of production on the ground. We talked about this morning that he was a lot better in the second half and for sure down the stretch, 4 or 5 on that final drive to go win that game. I think the first half wasn't as bad as it looked. I mean, Max Crosby made about 4 individual plays where you're just like, oh, my God, like he's everywhere. He's jumping the receiver screen. He's fake blitzing, dipping into coverage, and batting the ball to himself and picking it off. You're just like, I mean, is he the only guy in the league doing that? So I don't think it was like catastrophically bad or anything like that in the first half, but I think Caleb got a little rattled by how good Max was, and it probably led to a couple missed throws later. Kmet drops the ball. It kind of snowballed, right? But to his credit, to the Bears' credit, they found some solutions. That strike to Rome Odunze to take the lead in the third quarter might be the best throw of his career. We'll talk about that in a second. But graded out kind of average, right? 62, just under 70 passing grade. The rushing grade was low because he fumbled the ball in the zone read thing, was lucky to recover it. I think he also got blamed for that snap issue. He got credited with the fumble, so that probably brings the rushing grade down too. 2 big-time throws. I would guess one was the Rome touchdown, and maybe that incompletion on the scramble drill, even though it wasn't caught. 2 turnover-worthy plays. One was clearly the fumble that he recovered, and then I think the second one, I assume, was when he threw across his body and the ball got batted away. That's just a big no-no, so certainly put the ball in harm's way there. Let's face it, Max Crosby was a maniac yesterday. And sometimes you just – you're kind of in a game and you're like, God, I don't even think Caleb's playing that bad. Like, I just think, like, this dude is just taking over the game. And for the first quarter and a half, that was certainly happening. But, again, they found some solutions. They got a drive late in the half to get another field goal. And then that touchdown pass to Rome really seemed to settle him in. I mean, I think it was third down. It was third down. Raiders brought 6. Hangs in there, trusts the protection, hits the back foot, one hitch. And there's a screenshot going around Twitter right now. When he threw that ball, guys, and he threw it with velocity. I mean, it was a fastball. Rome hasn't even gotten into his break yet, much less like his break starting. He hadn't even gotten to his break. So to trust where Rome's going to be and to throw with that velocity and anticipation, that's a big-time fucking play, man. And it just felt like he got energized after that and obviously had the late drive as well to go win the game. So even in a game where, like, it wasn't going your way, adversity, I still think overall it was actually a pretty good game by Caleb. So that was certainly encouraging. And again, and you talked about this after the game, to win a game like that when, there's a lot of adversity, I think is huge not only for him but for this team as well. Grade Caleb's overall game against the Raiders, A, B, C, D, or F. I mean, overall, I'd probably give it like a B-. It was good enough. Certainly, it was a little inconsistent at times, but, if a couple balls aren't batted, if Cole makes a couple more catches, I mean, is he 26 of 37 for like 285 instead of 212? I mean, that stat line could have looked a lot better if a couple things kind of just bounced differently. All right, there you have it. Our latest news and takeaways here. This offensive tackle situation, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see kind of what conclusion they come to over the next couple of weeks. We'll monitor it all. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button. And as always, bear down.